Coca-Cola didn't just become the world's most famous soft drink, it became a symbol of America itself. It's in almost every country, every fridge, every childhood memory. But behind that sweet, fizzy image is a history that's anything but innocent. This isn't just a story about soda. It's a story about how a company quietly profited from addictive substances, exploited labor, manipulated science, and drained communities dry, all while smiling for the camera. Coca-Cola wants you to see happiness in every bottle. But the truth? It's far more bitter than sweet. Let's rewind to 1886. A man named John Pemberton, a pharmacist from Atlanta, was wounded in the Civil War. To ease his pain, he became addicted to morphine, just like thousands of other soldiers. But Pemberton wasn't just any addict. He was also an inventor. So, he began mixing chemicals in hopes of creating a substitute for morphine. What he came up with was a syrup containing coca leaf extract, yes, the same plant that gives us cocaine, and cola nut extract, which provided caffeine. He called it Pemberton's French wine coca at first. And believe it or not, it was advertised as a remedy for headaches, anxiety, and even impotence. When Atlanta passed prohibition laws banning alcohol, he removed the wine, and Coca-Cola was born. But the cocaine stayed. For years, Coca-Cola actually contained cocaine. And people drank it without knowing the full effects. It was sold in drugstores. Kids could buy it. It was marketed as a health tonic. It wasn't until the early 1900s, after growing public pressure and rising awareness about drug addiction, that Coca-Cola slowly began removing the cocaine from its formula. But they didn't exactly advertise the change. Instead of using raw cocaine, they started using coca leaves that had been decocainized. But here's the twist. Coca-Cola is still legally allowed to import coca leaves into the US even today, thanks to a special deal with the government and a secret processing plant in New Jersey. So technically, the original ingredient never really went away, it just got cleaned up for public image. Once the cocaine was gone, Coca-Cola needed a new strategy. So they doubled down on something just as powerful: marketing. They pushed hard into advertising, on billboards, newspapers, TV. They created catchy slogans like delicious and refreshing and it's the real thing. They weren't just selling soda, they were selling happiness, friendship, love, and the American dream. They even rebranded Santa Claus. Before Coke, Santa was portrayed in many ways: tall, skinny, even spooky. But Coca-Cola's ads in the 1930s showed him as a plump, jolly man in a red suit, the version we all recognize today. By the mid-20th century, Coca-Cola wasn't just a drink. It was a global identity. But behind the clean image were some very dirty truths. In the Jim Crow era, Coca-Cola was criticized for refusing to advertise in black newspapers. They were accused of avoiding the black consumer market out of fear it would hurt their mainstream appeal. Internally, there were also claims of discrimination in hiring and promotion. But the real darkness shows up overseas. In Colombia and Guatemala, Coca-Cola faced serious allegations involving their bottling partners. Union leaders who tried to organize workers were reportedly threatened, attacked, and even murdered. While Coca-Cola denied involvement, critics say the company turned a blind eye to the violence. And because many of these operations were handled by independent bottlers, Coca-Cola had legal distance, even as the abuse continued. In rural parts of India, Coca-Cola built massive bottling plants that began extracting groundwater from nearby villages. These communities depended on that water to grow crops and survive. But the water table dropped drastically, and wells ran dry. Farmers couldn't irrigate. Families couldn't drink. Protests erupted, and in some regions, Coca-Cola was forced to shut down its operations. At the same time, the company has faced huge backlash for its contribution to plastic pollution. Billions of plastic bottles are produced each year, and a large chunk of them end up in landfills and oceans. In response, Coca-Cola has launched marketing campaigns claiming they're eco-friendly and committed to sustainability. But many call it greenwashing, a PR move to distract from the real damage being done. Let's not forget the health crisis. Coca-Cola's sugary drinks have been linked to obesity, diabetes, and heart disease across the globe, and instead of owning up to their role, Coca-Cola funded scientific studies to downplay the impact of sugar and shift the blame to lack of exercise. They sponsored health conferences, funded research papers, and paid experts to say things like, "It's not the soda, it's your sedentary lifestyle." But a single can of Coke contains more sugar than you should consume in an entire day. And for decades, that fact was buried under feel-good advertising. Coca-Cola isn't just a soft drink, it's a case study in how far a company can go to protect its image. From drug-laced beginnings to environmental scandals, From labor abuse to public health manipulation, the story of Coca-Cola is packed with secrets, silence, and spin. And yet, it's still in our homes, on our shelves, and even in our hands. So next time you crack open a can, ask yourself, are you drinking a soda? Or swallowing a story that was carefully engineered to make you forget the truth? So, there you have it, the shocking and disturbing history behind one of the world's most iconic brands. Coca-Cola may be a symbol of refreshment, but it's also a reminder of how easily a company can manipulate its image while hiding the darker truths. Next time you reach for a bottle, just remember, there's more to every drink than meets the eye. If you found this story eye-opening, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden histories of the brands we know and love. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning what they want you to believe.